Hello and welcome to Sip Sip Hooray, the podcast for people who don't want to take wine too seriously, but do want to know a bit more about the places where wine is made and the interesting people behind the labels of some favorite wines, as well as some new discoveries. On the podcast today, a wine label that's all about keeping it fun and keeping it real. It's not your parents' dusty vintages, and it's not aimed at wine aficionados with massive cellars of expensive bottles. This is for a younger generation, Gen Z to be specific, the babies of the wine world, people dipping their toes in and looking for a good time. Our guest today is Jess Druey, founder of Whiny Baby, which was born during the COVID-19 pandemic. Since then, Whiny Baby has shown really healthy sales and found a niche in a very crowded wine market. We're excited to talk with Jess today and hear her inspiring story of seeing a need and being bold enough to fill it. We are the two Marys who like to eat, drink, and be merry. I'm Mary Babbitt.
I'm Mary Orland. Our guest today says the wine industry has an old people problem and that wineries don't know how to talk to Gen Z and wine newbies. We kind of agree with that. So, Jess Druey set about reimagining, reinventing, and reinvigorating the often stodgy wine world. Think of wine in terms of the vibe, the experience, the emotion. We love a wine bottle that comes with bling and super fun labels that turn into savable stickers. Though I have to admit, we're a bit starstruck today. Jess is not just a rising star in the wine world, she's a star in the TV world. We'll get some behind the scenes stories about her big win on Gordon Ramsay's Food Stars. Whiny Baby is Gen Z owned and operated. It's loud, colorful, fun, and irreverent. By reimagining the wine experience, Whiny Baby's call to Gen Z is, it's time for you to break up with your seltzers. We're excited to have the mastermind behind Whiny Baby on the pod. Jess, welcome to Sip Sip Hooray.
Woo! Thank you so much for having me. I could not think of a better fit of Whiny Baby and Sip Sip Hooray. It is a match made in heaven because that is what Whiny Baby is all about as well.
Thanks,
Yay.
thanks. You know, we say no whining allowed, but we can have fun about wines that, kind of reflect a really different approach to wine.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great. And
It's
thanks
much
again for joining
needed.
us.
Yeah.
It is. It's a reverent and fresh, fun take on what's been a really traditional wine world, and we're glad you're in it. But
Yeah.
as we get started, walk us back to the beginning of the pandemic. I think you were working at Red Bull and
Yes.
you're
Yep.
22.
Yep. So
And what happened?
22 at the time. I'm born and raised in Bakersfield, California, where I moved back to now, which is funny because I think a lot of us grow up in places where we're like, I can't wait to get out and
Yes.
accomplish big things. And we don't realize at the time, at least for me, how impactful my hometown has been. Close to wine country. It's a agricultural town. I grew up with, farming families, and it really gave me an appreciation for agriculture.
Mm.
Fast forward, I moved to LA, I start working in video production, and then kind of landed, the opportunity of a lifetime, especially as a college dropout at 22 to work for Red Bull, which I didn't know at the time. I didn't grow up thinking I'm, meant to be an entrepreneur or any interest in wine. Wine was so not on my radar.
Mhm.
But little did I know that my time at Red Bull, in my opinion, it's the greatest beverage marketer of our time. They were priming me for my future with Whiny Baby. And I apply the knowledge that I gained there every single day. And so it was the pandemic, 2020. All the restaurants were closed. And I think for the first time, I went, okay, I have a little more extra time being work from home. I should maybe, think about my personal life. I was always, on to the next thing, trying to accomplish things. I didn't quite know what I was meant to accomplish, but one foot in front of the other. And I like to say, because I said I didn't grow up with this, kind of calling to be an entrepreneur. But if you find yourself, working jobs and working in the corporate world, and you have this kind of feeling of, oh, well, I'd be really good at, that department's job, and you kind of have your toes in dipped into every kind of area, you're probably an entrepreneur, because that's what you do as an entrepreneur, right? You do a little bit of everything. So anyways, I'm at Red Bull, and I had a first date from a guy I matched with on Hinge, and he was a little bit older and said, "Why don't you come over, because the restaurants were closed? I'll cook for you. You bring a bottle of wine." Do not recommend going to a stranger's house on a first date. So do not,
Right.
do not take that advice. But I had the experience that I think it's funny. When I first started in wine, I thought this is the experience that other, new people of drinking age, young, people in their early 20s have. They go to a store, they are trying to pick out a bottle of wine, and they go, "Oh my gosh, what do I buy? What is a varietal? What wine matches this moment that I'm buying it for?" But I've actually come to realize that's a common experience that people of all ages have.
Absolutely.
Right? It's really just anyone who's new on their wine drinking journey.
Yeah, and it's
Or
scary.
not
I think
even new.
even when you're not new to it, trying
Right.
to find the right thing to bring, it's like, oh,
Yeah,
Right.
that's a lot of pressure.
It is. And I think if you don't grow up in a family where, a lot of people grow up where their parents would have a glass of wine at dinner. I didn't grow up in a family like that. And so I started to realize, if you're not naturally exposed to wine through, family members or friends, you don't, when would you ever really get exposed or educated in it? You won't.
So true. So I have to ask you, do you remember what wine you picked out?
I do. So this is actually a full circle, very fun moment. I think I'm allowed to announce that. If not, I've learned, like, I really don't have a fear of doing things the wrong way. I actually think that's kind of a superpower. And so I'm always discovering, new things. And if I'm not supposed to share this, whoops, oh well, I guess we'll find out. But the store I went to was Whole Foods, and I was looking at the wine aisle. They obviously have an amazing selection, and kind of tend to be a trendier section, but I still, was struggling. And it's been confirmed that Whiny Baby will be entering into a couple of California Whole Foods this year. So woohoo, full circle
Yay.
there.
That's
let's
awesome.
go.
Fantastic. That's
But
great.
the wine was, I don't know, forgive me, I don't know the name, but of course, I don't remember the name, but I remember the label. It's the one with the rainbow and cherries on it. It's really popular.
Oh, okay.
And I was checking out, and again, this kind of aha moment was reinforced when the woman checking out at the register said, "Oh, is this a good bottle of wine?" And I said, "I have no idea. I just grabbed it because of the label." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I do the exact same thing."
So many people do.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's true. So, so, okay. So that sets, thoughts and process. And so, how do you go from thinking, if I'm having this issue of being able to pick out a bottle of wine, other people must be having it. How can I make that problem go away? How do I get into this and help people discover wine?
So I really try to always emphasize the fact that, while I believe Whiny Baby is an incredible idea and really has certain details, which we'll get into, that make it so much more than just a trendy label. Anyone could do that. It really is a reimagined wine drinking experience. But the only difference between me and Whiny Baby is that I was delusional enough to actually go for it. And you
Well,
listen,
being an
right?
entrepreneur takes that, right?
That's all it is. It's just that are crazy enough to actually go for it. Everybody has ideas that they talk themselves out of every day. They do. And the amount of people that come up and they're like, "Oh, I wish I could do what you did." I'm like, you can. You literally just have to, be brave enough to hit go, and every step of the way go, "I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to figure it out," and that's really all it is. But when you listen to these podcasts, and especially in Gen Z culture with TikTok, and you see these flashy success stories, and I just wish people knew that from the time I had the idea, there was a whole year that I just sat on it. So I
Yeah.
walked out that day. I genuinely, the first thing that came to me was the name. Um, everybody's like, the name, I walked out and I was like, I'm going to start a wine brand and I'm going to call it Whiny Baby. Thank goodness it was available and not taken. I don't know how it wasn't. But it really reinforces what we're all about, which is, babies on their wine drinking journey, whiny's, fun and kitschy and kind of self-deprecating, which I am. And it really embodies kind of Gen Z culture, I think. But I walked out of there, had the idea, and literally Googled, how do you start a wine brand? And
Oh,
there wasn't a lot of info out there.
I was wondering.
This
And
is before AI. So now,
yeah, exactly. Now you could chat GPT your way into any business, really. You
There you
could.
go.
But no, I Googled it and I quickly was like, oh gosh, there's like a lot of complexities in this industry. There's a lot of, legality. And then I did what everyone else does, which is like, oh, that's a good idea. And then got distracted and moved on with my day or whatever. And
right.
I it's not the most fun and exciting thing to talk about. The date story is much more fun. But I really did have kind of a year go by. And then it took kind of a pivotal life moment of my stepfather passing, who he was a small business owner. And when that kind of happened in my family, my mom obviously had loved ones coming in from out of town while they were going through that time. And I sat there and it was when I really realized, whoa, there's such power in food, wine, gathering, both in the happy moments of life, the sad moments of life.
Mm.
And I, sat down with my mom and I said, I really believe that I need to go for it. And I think we all have those life moments where it's like, it puts life into perspective. And for me, it was a loved one passing, at 22, and I guess I was probably 23 at this time. Your life knowledge isn't that much. My life knowledge still isn't that much, but
Mm.
you're constantly, things are putting life into perspective. And I kind of went, your 20s are meant to take these risks. And, what if something happened tomorrow, I'd regret not just going for it.
Absolutely. And you're so right about that. It's a time to take chances. And if things don't work, there's always a pivot. You can always pivot to something else. You're still young, right?
I
Mm.
always say when I talk to even, colleagues of mine who are married and have kids, like it's not lost on me. I feel spoiled rotten that I don't have kids yet.
Mhm.
Although I want them, I can't wait for that time. It's not my time right now. And I don't have a mortgage. And that's just kind of the luxury of, being a young woman in your 20s. And it wasn't lost on me that it only will get harder over time, right?
Yeah, yeah. You'll have more responsibilities, more challenges. Well, and speaking of challenges, as you were trying to launch, what were some of the things, or were there things that gave you pause and thought, well, is this going to work? Or, am I really crazy?
I
Or
had
did it
those
all
pauses
just green
yesterday.
light? Yeah.
I still have those pauses. I have those pauses every single day, but I think, you know, again, I figured everything out from Google, from LinkedIn, Instagram, stalking, emailing anyone in the industry who had talked to me. That's how I figured it all out. And I still worked at Red Bull full time, and I would in my spare time work on this kind of side hustle and dream of creating a wine brand. And started from square one, figured out how to get an alcohol license. I looked at the different licenses, and someone everyone will lead to another person who knows something or opportunity, right? So just in me cold calling and talking to anyone that would talk to me, I found a liquor license consultant, which actually I spoke to a young woman yesterday who is trying to launch a tequila brand, and I was able to recommend that gentleman who helped me early on to her. And
Mm.
I'm just so passionate about this. Is a small industry. It's a really hard industry, and I've actually
Mhm.
found that everyone has been gracious and wants to help one another, and there's room for everyone. And I try to do the same. People continue to help me on my journey, and I try to help others. So I figured out there's this thing called a Type 85 license that allows you to sell direct to consumer in California only. I spoke to bulk wine sellers, and for my first round, this is not the wine that you would drink today if you purchased Whiny Baby. This was I like to call it my proof of concept round. I
Mhm.
bulk purchased wine from Gilroy, and I drove down there and I tried the different wines. And again, this just shows my ignorance and that you can't have fear of being wrong. I look back and I was gonna say I look back and cringe, but you know what? I don't. I look back and I go, wow, look how much I've learned. And I can't believe that I got to this point when it was this. The two wines that I chose to launch with was a Cab and a Chard, which just shows I had no clue what Gen Z was looking for. I
Mhm.
literally Googled what's the top sold wine.
Right,
That's
right.
why I picked it. I mean, it's so ridiculous when you say it, but like at the time, if I had let those things hold me back, I wouldn't be here now, you know?
Mhm.
So
Well,
yeah,
that's
figured it out every step of the way,
yeah.
sourcing it, bottling it, figuring out where to store it. And one thing I'm really, really proud of, and that I think gives me a little bit of an edge, of course, I'm media savvy, social media savvy. By no means do I consider myself an influencer or anything of that nature, but um, I I think where the industry has a little bit of a miss is this celebrity and influencer alcohol brand culture. I think
Mm,
people see right through it. And I'm really proud of the fact that while I have amazing partners now and, teams and resources and help, I had to figure it out on my own. There's nothing I did not do myself at one point, figuring
sure.
out how to design the labels, figuring
Hmm.
out how to bottle it, figuring out how to store it, and packaging up and shipping it with my mom out of her house.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's great.
That is amazing. So, in terms of the packaging, you know, your labels are especially super cool, super different, nothing like that on the shelf. Um, what gave you the inspiration to create a label that had a surface that you could write on and then peel it off,
Yep.
and the conversation starters that are under each crown cap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's so fun to look back. Like Canva's like the greatest invention ever. And you
Yes.
can go through my Canva and see the start of any idea I've ever had. And so actually, I think it was in that immediate time after that I had the idea, but before I really went for it, right? It takes no money to develop concepts, on your own and on Canva. And so I just started mocking things up. And I think one thing about me too is I am a obsessive researcher and I'm 27 now and it's not lost on me that my journey that I'm really young and that all this has happened quickly. But when I was 22 and my friends were, going out to the bars every weekend because they were burnt out from their jobs, which is so valid. And don't get me wrong, I was going out to the bars too, but I would have these research nights in by myself where I would go, okay, is my gut feeling correct that this industry has a need and a space um, for something like this? And I would sit there and I'd print out every, the Silicon Valley Bank report. I would like sit there and literally pour myself glasses of wine and just obsessively research on a Friday and a Saturday night. And I'd wake up and I'd go to every grocery store and take pictures. Like I feel like knowledge is the greatest power. So I wanted to know what else out there is bubbling up that is similar, that is my competition, that, and
Mhm.
where can
Mhm.
I make an edge and where can I be different? And so that's when I think I knew from the get-go, it's not enough to just be a cute label. Like literally anyone can do that. And as we know, this industry is run by a handful of major, major companies who have the ability to wake up tomorrow and make a cute label. So
Mhm.
it's not enough to just do that. And genuinely, everyone always asks, did you end up with that guy you went on the first date with? No, we are great friends still to this day, but I was more obsessed not with him but with that bottle of wine. And I, as we were on the date, was genuinely going, what are kind of these uh key moments that are happening naturally on the wine drinking experience, right? So it's one, when I grabbed that bottle from the shelf. Well, if you remember, I was like, what's a varietal? um
Yeah.
uh and what fits the occasion I'm buying for. So that's why when you see our bottles, we started with blends. I think blends, of course, make the wine itself more approachable, more easily drinkable, but it also removes the complication of a varietal. It's like red, white, rosé, right?
Right. Yep.
Um, so that was like first and foremost. And then secondly, you'll see these big words emphasized even larger than the wine itself. Like anyone with eyes can see it's a red wine, a white wine, and a rosé wine.
Right, right.
So we created these words, which has always remained true. In that initial batch, it was like love and happy. Now it is OMG, obsessed, and unwind. And that
Mhm.
was meant to hit the moment of, okay, if I'm going to, I had book club with my best friends last night and grabbed a bottle of wine. I, opted for unwind because we were having a more chill night. The other day I went to a friend's bridal shower. I grabbed a OMG, where I think a lot of wine buying is around occasions. Uh,
Right.
and so then on the date, of course, wine does what it does best, which is connects people. Gen Z is the loneliest generation, and it's an invitation to put our phones down, to actually, even though we all work from home and remote, put the effort into physically get together and have a book club and strike up conversation. And so that's where the conversation starter concept began. And on our OG bottles, we did use corks, and we did have the questions on the corks. At the time, there was only
Mm.
10 questions. Now we have like over 200, around 300 different questions
Wow.
on the crown caps. And the crown cap shift happened from, it's so silly, but a combination of the trend I was seeing at the wine bars that me and my friends were going to. And I know that most people in the industry, including myself, don't like the terminology of the natural wine scene, but that was what I was seeing was
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
crown caps. But then also I kept breaking a cork when I was opening a bottle. And I was like, if I own a wine brand and I'm breaking a cork, like consumers are doing the same thing. So
Right.
that was that shift. And then lastly, it was okay, you bring a bottle of wine for these incredible moments like a baby shower or celebrating your friend moving into her dream apartment. And those are memories that I want to save. I think there's a kind of rise right now in Gen Z culture of like um, sentimental hobbies, keepsakes. My friends are like getting into scrapbooking again.
Oh,
And
No
wow.
way.
yeah. And so I know a lot of people will save a cork or they'll save the actual bottle itself
Mm.
as that memory. And so I thought, oh, how cool would it be if you could save an element of that? And so the back says date, location, memories from the bottle. And again, I'm really proud of the continual and innovation. Innovation is kind of my sweet spot and my favorite. You think it would be branding and marketing, which I love, but it's really innovation and how
Yeah.
a bottle, a can, whatever it may be, the vehicle that your product is in, is real estate and an opportunity to reimagine. And so on those original bottles, it didn't peel off. It was just it was a label on the bottle that you'd fill out. And the consumers were going, I love this idea, but it's so hard to take the sticker off, the label.
Right.
And I don't want to keep the whole bottle. And so then in the bottles you see today on store shelves, we were able to reimagine and innovate a literal sticker on a sticker that peels entirely off, which we were working with different, label companies, and I don't believe it's been done before, at least in wine. So,
It
um,
it's such a good idea, and as you said, like, it's scrapbookable, right?
yes,
Right.
yes.
Well, I have to tell you that once I peeled it off, it reminded me of, years ago when I was first getting into wine and I had a little book where I would put all the labels that I would peel off the bottles. And,
Yes,
but, it was a very cumbersome task to get that label off the bottle.
exactly.
Mhm.
But what this inspired me to do is like, I bet I still have that book. And I do. And I
Oh,
pulled it out. I hadn't looked at it in years. And like it brought back memories looking at some of the labels that I had drunk and shared with other people.
Oh, that's
oh
great.
That
my
was
gosh. Okay. After we do this, and we'll have to post it on your guys' social media or something, but that was one of my goals this year was start my own wine journal. I don't peel the labels, but I take pictures.
uh-huh.
Cut it out and I put them in and I, talk about the wine and I rate it because I just realized it's still for me. I'm in the industry and it's still so overwhelming. And that is the greatest way to learn about wine is to drink it and talk about it and write it down. So
Yep.
I started my own wine journal this year. So we'll have to take
Oh, cool.
pictures of
Yeah,
each of our little wine journals.
that would be great.
Absolutely, I love
Um,
that, and it's
One
fun.
question. Oh, just one question about the peelable label, since it's something that I agree, I don't think I've ever seen it in the wine industry. Was that something that was hard to get through TTB, which is the organization that has to approve all wine labels?
Actually, no. Again, which we'll get to this part, I'm sure, but I'm in this amazing partnership with the McBride sisters. It could be summed up as I, sold out of my initial proof of concept, knew I needed a path forward. And I say this to every entrepreneur. Do not listen to, well, you could either bootstrap or raise money. I was like, okay, I could raise $10 million, wouldn't know what to do with it, and then be $10 million in debt to investors. Like that doesn't sound great at all. So I
Hmm.
knew there were larger, more established companies that had what I needed, which was the infrastructure, the winemaking team, the knowledge, the distribution, and I had what they needed, which was the innovation, the community, and that's how the McBride Sisters partnership happened. And so in that partnership, I have access to their, resources and their teams, including their, compliance teams. And so when I worked with them on the TTB, submission and all that, that surprisingly was not an issue. What has come up was we have a baby face as our logo,
Right.
uh, on our logo. And we have all over our bottle, must be 21 plus, but we actually that wasn't originally on there. And I went, No problem. I'll come up with a cute sticker that fits our branding. I'd rather be safe than sorry. Slap it on there, must be 21 plus to really, uh, cross our T's and dot our I's. So no issue on the peelable part, but of course, with anything, we definitely have had different kind of hurdles that we had to get creative about.
I would not have thought about the baby
The
image.
baby, yeah, that's
Oh
interesting, but I
yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
And it says
Yeah,
very
I do
clearly
too.
adults only and all that
Mhm.
stuff now. So I love that.
Well, we've
Um,
even had people comment on it is, you know, they think it's childlike. I think it's Gen Z aesthetic, right? So, where do you kind of find that middle ground and how do you ensure that? But so we have to be extra careful. But one of my favorite stories that I think is hilarious is I didn't know that in your marketing campaigns, when you're using models, they legally have to be over 25. So when I started, I was in some of the initial campaigns, of course, because I'm free. And I was 23, 24 then. So legally, I owned the brand and I could
mhm.
not be in my own marketing materials.
No way.
And
That's
is
so
that just for
wild.
the alcohol industry?
Yeah, oh,
Okay.
definitely. I mean, it's
So,
funny. I thought Red Bull was difficult because it's the same thing, but 18, right? Uh,
Yeah.
25,
That's
which is crazy. And they even go as far to say, which is so funny because this is, subjective. Um, they need to be 25, but they also need to look over 25. Also keep in mind, I'm doing these campaigns and I'm working just with my friends. I'm living in LA. My friends are photographers and directors and influencers, and um, none of them were over 25. So I'm like, I don't know anyone over 25.
that
oh,
is
really?
so funny. That is
Yeah.
incredible. I would not have known that. I love
But we
that
ask
story.
ourselves why the industry has a hard time, reaching new consumers. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
fair. It's literally set up in a way that makes it near impossible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Wow. Oh,
Another cool thing that you do is you've got your little charms, your bottle charms, which are like friendship bracelets. And in fact, I would love to wear it as friendship bracelets. It's a little big, but I think it's such a cool concept, and I wondered where that came from. And like again, it's very Swifty-esque, and which makes it even more fun.
Which I got so lucky with that because that happened before. Um,
Oh,
so she hadn't gone on her Eras tour yet. What it is actually it's a phone charm. So if you have a phone case, you loop that hole through the side of it, and it hangs off like a charm. So my favorite part about it is it's like extended, brand. Uh,
marketing.
oh yeah, I literally see people with the phone charms, and I'll literally go up and I'm like, oh my gosh, did you get this from your Whiny Baby bottle? So
That's
it's
fun.
awesome. Yeah. Again, it was one of the original ideas I had just because at the time those phone charms were really trending. I think I had one on my phone and I went, oh my gosh, this little loop could just go right over the bottle. Why not? How fun. And I'm so excited to share that so currently they're only available when you place the order from our website because when they are on the bottles, they're not really shelf safe. You could kind of just pull it off. So
Yes.
I'm working to develop kind of like a crown cap where there's a loop on the end so that the charm can go through it and be shelf safe because that's one of our number one asks is people, of course, and rightfully so, see us on social media, they go into the store and they're like, wait, we want the beads, which is so valid. However, I'm so excited to share. We have a new retail store we're going to be going into, Meyer, and they've been incredible partners. And they said, we want all 3 bottles, but we want the beads on them. And so with them and our distributor partners, we came up with kind of a solve for right now, at least, which is a sticker that goes on top of the bottle beads that secures them down. So anybody who's listening who lives next to a local Meijer, you are the very first stores that will ever have bottle beads available on shelves.
That's
That's
great.
great. Really
Where
fun.
are the Meyer markets?
It is Midwest.
Okay.
Yep.
Correct.
So they're really big in the Midwest. I think like 300 stores. I went out there and got to kind of explore them, and they have a beautiful wine selection. And that's honestly my favorite part. Is I've found that the wine industry. I was kind of scared that the wine industry can be snobby and pretentious and a little unwelcoming. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of times that I think myself and Whiny Baby can be a bit misunderstood. I think the biggest misconception is that you can't make, seriously delicious premium quality wine and have it be a fun label. And actually, that's a big hurdle with consumers. They see a fun label and they think it's shit wine, excuse my
Mhm.
language.
Yeah.
No, it's
Um,
true.
and if you try our wines, they're definitely fruit forward, but you'll see they're actually really beautifully balanced. They've got that juicy acidity, and they're not these kind of sugar bombs that you would expect. They're quality, real, delicious wine. And I'm passionate about that. But the industry, to my surprise, has been so lovely and so welcoming, because I think at the end of the day, we just want more people to drink wine. And I hope that, I'm not trying, I just don't believe in competition in that way. My thought
Mhm.
process is, someone who's new to wine finds Whiny Baby. They go, this is a great starting point in my wine drinking journey. They try our red, and I get this feedback all the time when we go on our little college tours. They go, I didn't think I liked wine at all. And I definitely didn't think I liked red wine. And then I tried this, and, it's this juicy, just delicious, like it tastes like fruit punch, but it's like, it's real wine. And, my hope is that they go, oh, wow, like, what is this? And they find that it's a Zinfandel and Merlot. And, the cherry flavors is, predominantly a Zinfandel. And then they'll go to the store next week and, of course, stock up on their Whiny Baby. But maybe then they'll go, I'm going to try a Zinfandel. Like, so
Mhm.
my hope is that Whiny Baby gets people into wine, and then they're on that lifelong journey of loving and learning and exploring wine.
Well, Mary Babin and I have always said for years that the wine industry really needs to open itself up and broaden the tent and bring more people in. And
Yeah,
especially now more than ever, because wine, worldwide wine consumption is falling.
right.
Um, the wine business is having major, major issues in terms of people turning away from wine, not drinking for whatever reasons, whether it's health, whether the baby boomers are aging out of wine,
Yeah.
Gen Z not interested in wine. So, what you're doing is appealing to them and saying, hey, the world of wine is open to you.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the other big thing is making it clear to younger consumers that wine is relevant in
Hmm.
like their lifestyle, right? And so that's where we're big on, hey, like you and your friends are, post grad, you're working this, job, and you're trying to make friends, like start a book club and have everyone bring a bottle of wine. And like that is what wine is about, and it is relevant to their lifestyle. And I think it's getting them to understand that. And you said it at the start of the podcast, we want people to break up with their seltzers.
Hmm.
I One of my favorite things we were talking about, I always just like to come up with fun marketing campaigns that like actually have to do with my own life. But it's like, right, they drink a High Noon or a White Claw or whatever, at a tailgate, that makes sense in their everyday life. Well, okay, you're not going to go and meet your boyfriend's family for the first time over the holidays, when you go back home and, bring a case of seltzers, so
Right.
let us help you. And I think that's what's exciting too, is wine it's sophisticated and, sexy and adult, and it feels, that's why I love, the traditional format of a glass bottle. And I am excited to explore other formats, of course, but I've been passionate to keep with the glass bottle because it's just the most beautiful hostess gift. And it just,
Yeah.
to me, wine is so beautiful. And I think the more and more younger consumers get that and see the beauty of it, oh my gosh, it's the perfect, gift for a friend for a birthday, for, it's the occasion drink. And that to me, it will, that's not going away.
Yes. And so does that mean you would not add cans or
Oh no, I am chomping at the bit for so much innovation. I have nothing against cans, and I have definite plans to explore ready to drink formats. Uh
Mhm.
so more to come there. What I don't think I would do is just, I think I'd explore, maybe a form of a spritzer style when it comes to a can. I don't imagine me doing just, regular
Still, yeah.
wine in the can. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Well, I wanted to just mention your price points are approachable. It's a 17.99 bottle, and you can find them. You're currently in Target. You're where else are you? I'm trying to remember now. You tell
Total
us.
Wine.
Total
Yeah,
Wine, yes.
Bevmo.
And
Yep.
so your places where people are going to buy wine, and also, understanding that they're not walking into a really posh and scary wine store that where they have to know something about something, it's on the
Yeah,
shelf at Target.
exactly. Yep, exactly. Super approachable, but it's so funny, even with price point. And I think, like I said at the beginning of this, one of my like I think the best superpower is, your naivety. And I'm not afraid to be wrong, and I'm not afraid, to change and have innovation. And honestly, price point is one of those things that I'm really trying to continue to learn. Are consumers looking for, because to me, our price point feels, it matches the quality of the wine. That's actually a little bit of a higher price point, as you guys know, than just a lot of the kind of just regular wines that you'd pick up maybe, on your weekly grocery store run.
Right.
So I wanted it to still feel like, oh, I could bring this as a hostess gift, and it feels, nice and stuff. But then at the same time, I want people to grab Whiny Baby on their weekly grocery run. So is it matching that price point? So there's things that I'm always trying to learn about. And then even the aesthetic and the bottles and the kind of wine we have. I'm so not afraid to adapt Whiny Baby. My preferences have changed, I was 22 when I started. I'm 27 now, so something I think about all the time is, does the brand continue to adapt and grow over the years? Where does it remain the same? And then price point is something that I'm always trying to learn and get more educated on, because what I would grab and what my friends would grab here in California may be very different than what someone my age would grab in Ohio.
So
So
there could
true.
be a whiny grown up down the line.
Absolutely. The family will just keep growing.
There you go.
I'm kind of a nerd for, to me, the future, um, innovation lies in education. And
Sure.
so what I'm most focused on next is, um, how interested are consumers in wanting to feel educated, and how can we make that education seamless and fun and not difficult. I mean, like, you walk into a grocery store aisle and you're getting educated by how we're presenting wine to you, and so that's kind of on the forefront of what I'm trying to navigate for the future of, okay, here's your introductory blends. Oh my gosh, there is so much more
Mhm.
wine and to learn and grow, and how do we take them on that journey?
That be I will be very interested to see how you address it, because that is wine is so intimidating for so many people, and the whole educational aspect. It's very different from beer or spirits. I mean, certainly there are beer geeks and spirits geeks, but
Yes,
you don't really have to think about all the nuances that wine geeks think about or talk about.
totally. And this industry is so bizarre because it's one of the only, I think, right? I own this wine brand. I'm on the winemaking team. I work with the McBride sisters winemaking team, and we all together sit down, and I consider myself like the translator, right? I take what I've asked, on social media, our community, what are you looking for, flavor profile, what are you interested, all that. I bring it back to the winemaker. We all work together, go through, each of those blends had like 27 blend trials we went through. So I'm super involved in that front, but I'm not a winemaker by no means. There are so many brilliant winemakers, and this industry is kind of bizarre in that it kind of like, I don't know, there's multiple sides to it where it's like, oh, you didn't make the wine yourself. There's this
Mhm.
weird kind of, there's lots of different barriers. And then to your point, it's like you've got like the wine geek culture. But then that's not what the consumer like, they don't speak
Right.
that language.
Yeah, they don't care about pH or what
Right.
vineyard row this came from or
Right. Right.
it's the
And then
soil makeup.
you take it a step further, right? And wine media is predominantly more for wine core, right? So
Right.
like the articles and the write-ups you're going to get are, by and for really people more in the core industry. So there's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a lot of interesting dynamics going on. And there's another new dynamic of, like I said, that kind of natural wine scene, smaller boutique, small batch, really talented winemakers, but a lot of them, produce in a way that isn't really scalable. And so another area that I hope to be and grow in is I think that Whiny Baby is kind of this middle ground between you've got the traditional, mass big box, store wines, and then you've got these boutique style small batch wines, and the two aren't really kind of connecting, And I'm
Mm-hmm.
getting this from I'd have a dinner party, and the wines that my friends would bring would be those small batch, boutique wines that they'd get from a cute, trendy wine shop. But, we were in LA or New York or, and so those wines weren't really available at Target or Vons
Right.
or,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
so with Whiny Baby, I'm always trying to kind of be that middle ground of can we produce these style of wines that are speaking to people and the younger generation in a way that is available and accessible to the masses and to the rest of the country.
So
Wow.
true.
I think you're nailing it. And you were introduced to the whole country, if not through Whiny Baby, but through Food Stars. Can you tell
Yeah.
us that story briefly? Like, how in the world did that happen?
Gosh, what a crazy experience. So as you know, we've got phone
And
numbers.
just so that listeners who may not know this show, it's Gordon Ramsay's Food Stars, which is a series on Fox.
Yes, and you can stream the whole season now on Hulu. So if you
I
haven't watched,
watched it. I
oh,
watched it.
you did?
I
Ah,
did.
how
I
fun.
have a lot of questions.
Oh yeah, ask away. I'm an open book if you can't tell. So yeah, as you know, we've got a phone number on our bottles and on our marketing materials. And that's just another really way to connect and speak with our consumers. And it's kind of turned into a fun, again, a lot of this is taken from my own personal life and my friends' lives of, you have a glass of wine and you kind of get fluttery fingers and maybe send some texts that, you don't want to text or, you look back and you're kind of like, oh, maybe you get a little bit of that liquid courage. So one of our things is, hey, before you go to call that X or text that X, here's our phone number. Call
No
us
way.
instead.
That's so
But
funny.
if you call it, it'll go to a voicemail. It says, it's Whiny Baby. Thanks so much for calling us. Talk to us, not your ex. But I get the funniest voicemails, the funniest pictures. And actually, this is more kind of for industry folks, but it's turned into this incredible tool of don't get me started on the fact that no one tells you it's going to be a full-time job to work with, your wonderful distributor partners, but this industry is so difficult. And in that is, I came back from the show and we're now available on store shelves in about 47 states. We went from 4 to 47.
Wow.
So awesome. But in that, I don't know often when we've actually hit the shelf. They don't tell you these things.
Mm.
I kind of have a general idea, like the product shipped out, but no one's there to say, Jess, it is on the shelf. It's like there's so many hurdles. And so I feel horrible as the owner, right? That people wanted it. I'm saying it's supposed to be there. They go and it's not there. I feel like I've wasted their time. That's horrible. I don't want that for our community. So instead, I leaned in and I said, look, this is the reality. How crazy. And they're like, oh my gosh, what? You don't even know when it hits? I said, I need your help. Go to your store, text me at the number, pictures. And seriously, our community became like our little agents who would go out, they text the Whiny Baby number and be like, it landed, on Connecticut Total Wine shelf. And I'm like, okay, then I could tell people confirmed it is there. So it's like all these hurdles, don't shy away, lean in and, use your community. But so that phone number, I opened up and got a voicemail from a casting director. They said they wanted, me and Whiny Baby on the show. I talked to my partners about it and I said, I am not going on a reality show. Are you kidding me? Like, that is like, you putting yourself out there in that way. People, I've learned, you can't be an entrepreneur or putting yourself out there on social media and not go. People have opinions like I don't care anymore, right? I care about what my friends and my family and people close to me think, of course, but people, if you put yourself out there, people are going to like you, people are not going to like you. It's a scary thing though, right? And
Hmm.
so, and these reality shows, they are for entertainment and they put you in situations to get a rise out of you. And you never know how you're going to act in those situations. So I told my partners, like, no, no. And they were like, oh, yes. Oh, yes, you are. Thank goodness I did, because as ended up winning. And while I'm super proud and thankful for that, I really view it as a win for the wine industry on a
Yeah.
food forward show to have wine
Yes.
win and to have a Gen Z, kind of face of it win. For me,
Heck
that
yeah.
was a
Well,
win.
do you think it helped having Lisa Vanderpump as a
Like,
co-host and being on
dang.
her team versus because she is more drinks entrepreneur? She has her own wine brand. And even though Gordon
Yeah.
Ramsay also has his wine brand, you think of him as a chef first and
Yep.
foremost.
Absolutely. 100%. And also Lisa herself is a self proclaimed maximalist as well. So she really understood me and that definitely helped. And I cannot speak highly enough about the two of them. I mean, you talk about people, they say never meet like your idols or, it's like a letdown. They are so hardworking. They are such professionals and they really are people where you go, oh, your success is no accident. They
Yep.
command a room, everyone adores them, and they are, they're brilliant.
I'm
Mhm.
guessing they thought the same thing about you, Jess.
Oh,
I
hopefully.
will give you, I've actually got a quote from Lisa. Let me find it. She
Oh,
said, she was a yes because of Jess's energy, enthusiasm, and you understand Gen Z, Team Vanderpump. She has something special. She's going somewhere. And when Gordon didn't pick you and Lisa did, you said to Gordon, we will prove you wrong. And 10 weeks later, you did.
yep, absolutely. And if you watched it, there was a wine episode.
Yes.
And I'm thinking if every challenge, there's a different like leader. So of course I led that one, but I'm thinking, oh my gosh, if I lose this, like career suicide, right?
Yeah.
But when you watch it, the kind of main big plot was that Gordon's team ripped off the Whiny Baby concept. They had a fill-in label.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really funny because it's a little bit of drama, reality TV, behind the scenes. But the guy who kind of led that forefront, Andrew, who's a hot sauce owner, we are now dating in real life, which
No way.
is so funny. He lives up in Sonoma, and we were just friends on the show. We didn't, there was nothing, it wasn't a showmance.
Oh, but
We got
maybe if we
back.
watch, we could see the sparks at the
I
beginning.
think you can. I think.
Ah!
But it's hilarious because that episode, everybody comes up to me and they're like, do you hate that guy? Like he ripped off your brand. And in the moment, I was upset. I actually, the Fox head of legal, and I spoke, when I realized what had happened on camera, the cameras turned off or whatever. And I walk over and I was upset. I'm thinking, oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And he goes, are you kidding me? Whiny Baby just got a 45-minute commercial on Fox. And I was like, You are so right.
Mm.
And so to this day, people are like, do you hate that guy? And I'm like, well, no, we're dating. So no, I don't. But actually, he did me the biggest favor ever, which was made the whole episode really about Whiny Baby, which was awesome. And me and him joke that he kind of did me a favor in that now I don't want to even say if, when other wine brands do rip off Whiny Baby elements, we've got proof on national television that I was the first.
Sure.
Yes. Yes. That's
That's so funny.
awesome. Yeah.
Now, the,
Your story
the
is so fun. I love
it
it.
is
Oh,
the
thank
one quick thing, the rosé sorbet that you made for that challenge. Are we going to see that come out for Whiny Baby?
I hope nothing immediate that I wish I had updates to share. The meltdown, which is the perfect name, if we do ever come out with it. But yeah, like I said, I'm always looking for innovation. And are you kidding me? When I have friends over, my favorite thing to do is take a scoop of really like high quality, delicious vanilla bean ice cream and pour a little bit of our red on top. It is so delicious. So I
Mm,
think like I'm always interested in
mhm.
exploring new ways to enjoy wine.
Good for you. It is just, your story is so inspiring. Um, you are just a delight to talk to. We could go on and on, but I don't want to take up
Same
too
with
much of your
you guys.
time.
We'll have to take this
Goodness.
off podcast and
Yeah,
do
Yeah.
right.
something
I
with
know.
ourselves. Yeah.
We love what you're doing. And honestly, I speak for Mary Orland when I say we cannot wait to see what you do next because it's going to be big. And
Right.
I don't think, you bring the brains and the fresh ideas and just a can-do spirit. And I mean, you can't go wrong with that formula. I love it.
Oh,
And your enthusiasm is just contagious. It's
Yeah,
fantastic.
it's so darn
thank you.
likable.
I
So
know
good for
everyone
you.
always says to me who's been in the industry for a long time, they're like, don't get jaded. Please don't get jaded.
Right.
And
Don't
I,
you?
I won't. I won't. And I
Okay,
have to
good.
say thank you so much to you both because, this industry is so, so hard. And I don't think there's a path forward without, people who have been in the industry for a long time, industry vets like yourselves, welcoming the newbies like me. And
Aw.
I know that together, we're not going to see this, doom and gloom culture that we're feeling with wine right now. I don't feel it because if you can't tell, I am a diehard optimist. And I really do believe that Gen Z will and is slowly but surely falling in love with wine, just as I have.
Mhm.
And it's going to happen because of people like you guys, welcoming in folks like me. So thank you to you guys.
Oh, you're
Thank
welcome.
you. Well, we believe in it too. And, wine, like any business, is cyclical, and wine has had challenges before. And this is just one of those periods. But you mentioned the Silicon Valley Bank report that you would read over a glass of wine. And you probably know that just came out. And there was a little bit of good news. So there's a
Yes.
glimmer. There's a glimmer.
Absolutely. I was going to say that's my weekend plans is the research never stops, right?
Right.
So that is my weekend plans yet again, reading over that over with a glass of wine. So
Good for
looking
you.
forward to reading the good news.
Love it. Well, it's so fun when nice people succeed. So good on you, Jess. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
guys.
for joining us today on Sip Sip Hooray. Cheers, girl.
Cheers. Would love to do it
Yeah.
again.
Thank you. We would too.
Sip, sip, hooray.
It is so great to see some fresh ideas and young blood in the wine business and bringing kind of a new perspective while keeping it fun. I like that. I mean, it's, as you and I have said, it's more than time for us to take the fancy veil off of the wine industry.
Well, somebody sure needed to shake up the wine industry, and Jess seems to be the one who's doing it most effectively. And, what fun ideas. And, wine should be an everyday, enjoyable pleasure.
Absolutely. So Whiny Baby, you're going to be seeing it everywhere. If you haven't seen it yet, you will be. It's as we said, it's in Total Wine, it's in Bevmo, it's at Target, and and she's hoping it'll be other places too soon. So we
Right.
shall see. And she's certainly one to watch.
Mhm.
So we hope you enjoyed this episode of Sip Sip Hooray as much as we did. And if you like it, we hope you'll share it with your friends, rate it, leave a comment. Those things help other people find us. And that's what this is all about.
Right. You can follow us on social at Sip Sip Hooray Podcast. We're also on Substack. And if you go to Substack and subscribe, it's a free subscription, then you'll get notified of every new episode as soon as it drops.
Yeah. And so hopefully you'll keep on listening. If you have any great ideas for us, please let us know. We'd love to hear from you and find more fun stories to share with you.
And if you are drinking Whiny Baby and you are filling out those back labels, snap a photo and send it to us. We'll post it on our Instagram.
Absolutely. All right, Mary Orland. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Cheers to you, girl.
Cheers to you. Sip, sip, hooray.
Sip, sip, hooray.